There's nothing worse than that sinking feeling when the car you dreamed of owning turns into a financial nightmare. It might look sharp on your driveway, it might have all the badges and tech you wanted, but once the warning lights start flashing, the bills stack up faster than you can pay them. And in the UK, we know how brutal this can be. MOT failures, turbo replacements, suspension rebuilds, and garages charging £120 an hour just to tell you what's wrong. Today, we're lifting the bonnet on 9 popular cars that thousands of Brits ended up regretting. Cars that seemed like smart buys, whether as company cars, family wagons, or second-hand bargains. But instead, left owners with drained bank accounts and endless garage visits. This isn't about obscure imports or cars no one actually buys here. Every model on this list is a common sight on British roads, and yet behind that shiny paintwork lies a string of faults you'll want to avoid at all costs. From executive saloons to family SUVs, from diesels meant to last forever to petrols that guzzle oil, we're covering them all. And trust me, what's waiting at number 1 will shock you. A brand the British public swears by, exposed for the expensive disaster it can be once the miles add up. So buckle up, because if you're shopping for a used car in the UK, this list could save you thousands. Let's start with a French SUV that hides one of the nastiest mechanical traps of recent years. Number 9. Citroën C5 Aircross. It usually starts the same way. A family spots a nearly new Citroën C5 Aircross on a dealer's forecourt. Big boot, comfy seats, cheap to tax, and signs without hesitation. For the first year, everything feels perfect. Soft suspension over speed bumps, plenty of gadgets, and a frugal little 1.2 engine-sipping fuel. Then comes MOT time. The mechanic frowns, points to the oil filter, and explains the wet belt is breaking down, sending rubber fibers through the engine. The choice? Replace it early for over £1,000 or risk total failure. Many chose the latter, only to face seized turbos and dead engines months later. Owners describe it as a car that goes from fine to finished in a heartbeat, sometimes with no warning at all. Because the Peugeot 3008 grabbed most of the press attention, the C5 Aircross's flaws stayed largely in the shadows. That meant more unsuspecting Brits walked straight into the trap, thinking they'd found a safe, practical bargain. For them, the regret wasn't just financial. It was the shock of watching a nearly new family SUV go from driveway pride to workshop scrap in a matter of months. Next up is a car that should have restored faith in driving passion. A sleek Italian saloon that promised excitement. But for many UK owners became the most expensive mistake they ever made. Number 8. Alfa Romeo Giulia. When the Giulia arrived in Britain, it was billed as Alfa Romeo's great comeback. Rear-wheel drive, seductive styling, and handling sharp enough to finally rival the Germans. Reviewers were smitten, and plenty of Brits signed on the dotted line, eager for something with more soul than a 3 Series. For the first few months, it seemed they'd made the right choice. But reality soon crept in. The 2.0 turbo petrol proved far thirstier than the brochure figures suggested. Around town, economy was dismal. Even on long motorway runs, it drank like a bigger engine, but without the characterful soundtrack to soften the blow. Then came the upkeep. With so few independent specialists in the UK, most owners were tied to Alfa's franchised network, where labour is premium and parts are eye-watering. A failed fuel pump or stubborn electronic sensor could immobilise the car for weeks, leaving drivers stranded and savings drained. The Giulia delivered passion in bursts. A Sunday blast down a B road was unforgettable. But for many, everyday ownership felt like paying endlessly for those fleeting thrills. It became the symbol of a truth Brits know all too well. Style and substance don't always live in the same garage. And while Alfa's gamble cost drivers dearly, the shock cut even deeper with the next car. A Honda SUV that was meant to be the safe, sensible choice, yet turned out to be anything but. Number 7. Honda CR-V. Picture a typical weekday in the UK. The school run before 9, a dash to Tesco, then the stop-start crawl of the M25 in the evening. The Honda CR-V 1.6 IDTEC was designed to take this routine in its stride. Roomy, frugal, and carrying Honda's reputation for bulletproof reliability. For thousands of families, it seemed the obvious choice. But the reality was more troubling. Cold mornings often began with an unsettling rattle, the telltale sign of a timing chain stretching far earlier than expected. Gearboxes that once shifted seamlessly grew hesitant and juddery in traffic, turning every commute into a reminder of looming repair bills. And for those doing short, urban trips, injectors clogged with frustrating regularity, setting off warning lights and limp mode when least convenient. What made the blow so heavy was the sense of betrayal. A Honda was supposed to be the safe bet, the one badge you didn't have to second guess. Instead, owners found themselves chasing courtesy cars, arguing over invoices, and realizing that bulletproof wasn't quite so unbreakable after all. And if the family-friendly Honda could disappoint so deeply, spare a thought for the next car, an executive saloon that once dominated British fleet car parks, only to see its reputation crumble in the used market. Number 6. Skoda Superb. For years, the Skoda Superb was the ace up the sleeve of UK fleet managers. With its cavernous boot, limousine-like rear legroom and VW Group engineering, it promised executive comfort without the executive price tag. Company drivers loved them, and when lease terms ended, thousands of ex-fleet Superbs poured into the second-hand market. On paper, that looked like great news for private buyers. But reality bit hard. The 2.0 TSI engine had an appetite for oil that left many owners topping up constantly, sometimes masking deeper issues like worn piston rings. And the slick DSG gearbox, so smooth when new, proved fragile once the miles piled on. Mechatronic failures and clutch packs often needed replacing, and bills of £2,000 or more weren't unusual. Buyers who thought they'd grabbed a £10,000 bargain at auction often ended up paying nearly a quarter of the car's value again just to keep it moving. Word travelled fast through the trade. Dealers grew wary of taking them back in Part X, knowing all too well that angry calls from customers could follow. Residuals fell sharply, and the Superb's carefully built reputation as the smart alternative began to unravel. But if Skoda's misstep felt disappointing, the next story cuts deeper still. Because when a Jaguar XF lets you down, it's not just your wallet that suffers, it's your pride. Number 5. Jaguar XF. Best decision I've ever made, thought Mark from Leeds as he eased his newly bought Jaguar XF onto the M62. The sweeping bonnet, the subtle growl, the smell of leather. Owning a Jag wasn't just about driving, it was about status. For months he relished motorway cruises, the approving glances from neighbours, and the quiet pride of choosing something classier than a 5 Series. Then the honeymoon ended. A rough cold start became routine. A faint whine joined every acceleration, and one winter morning the dash erupted in warning lights. The diagnosis was devastating. A stretched timing chain and failing turbo, both notorious weak spots in the XF's engines. The bill? Several £1,000s, with the garage demanding a hefty deposit before even booking the job. Weeks without the car followed, leaving Mark relying on a courtesy hatchback while the luxury saloon sat in pieces. His story is far from unique. Across Britain, XF owners discovered that beneath the sleek styling lay fragile engineering. Some faced injector faults, others repeated EGR issues, but the theme was the same. Prestige ownership replaced by endless invoices. The XF was meant to be proof that Jaguar could beat the Germans. Instead, for too many, it became a bitter reminder that image alone can't keep a car on the road. And if British prestige can collapse so dramatically, the next car proves that even the Scandinavian ideal of safety and serenity comes with a crushing financial sting. Number 4. Volvo XC90. The myth was simple. If you wanted the ultimate safe family car, you bought a Volvo XC90. 7 proper seats, Scandinavian design, and a reputation for indestructible engineering. On paper, it was the no-brainer choice for British families. For the first few years, that image held strong. School runs felt calm, long trips effortless, and the badge carried quiet confidence. But reality has been far less kind. As mileages climbed, the D5 exposed weak points that shook owners' faith. Automatic gearboxes began slipping and failing, with rebuilds costing more than some used hatchbacks. Air suspension units collapsed, each corner demanding 4-figure repairs. Even the much-hyped diesel struggled with clogged DPFS on short UK commutes, leaving owners stranded in limp mode. Fleet managers once filled company car parks with XC90s, but many backed away as residual values crashed. For private buyers, the shock was personal. The car that symbolized safety and peace of mind often became the source of stress and spiraling costs. And if the safe Swedish choice could cause sleepless nights, the next blow came from Germany's executive favorite, the Audi A6 Ultra. Number 3. Audi A6. For years, the A6 Ultra was the darling of Britain's company car parks. Low tax bands, sky-high MPG figures, and that coveted Audi badge made it the go-to choice for executives up and down the country. On lease, it looked flawless. Regular servicing, motorway miles, prestige image. But once these cars filtered onto the used market, the gloss wore off. EGR valves and DPF filters, fine for motorway hauls, struggled the moment new owners used them for mixed driving. Warning lights flared, limp mode cut power, and suddenly the efficient Ultra needed repairs costing £1,500 or more. Add to that worn suspension components from years pounding motorways, and those smooth rides turned into clonks and rattles. The cruel irony? Fleet managers loved them because they seemed risk-free, but the second owners were left carrying the financial baggage. Many Brits who thought they'd bagged a smart used executive saloon found themselves with a car no more dependable than cheaper rivals, just a lot pricier to fix. And if that felt like betrayal, the next chapter was even worse. A Japanese saloon once tipped as a secret gem that ended up scaring off dealers completely. Number 2. Mazda 6. Not long ago, the Mazda 6 was a bit of a hidden treasure on British roads. Sharp styling, sweet handling, and the promise of clever Sky-active diesel tech made it stand out from the sea of Mondeos and Insignias. Early adopters thought they'd found the smart choice, something reliable yet distinctive. But as problems stacked up, the car's reputation collapsed. Injectors failed far too soon, DPF systems clogged on everyday commutes, and oil dilution scared even loyal owners. Word spread quickly, and residual values fell through the floor. Dealers became reluctant to take them in Part X, while traders openly warned buyers off. Cars that once looked desirable on forecourts suddenly sat unsold, gathering dust. For many Brits, the sting wasn't just the repair bills, but the resale nightmare. Owning a Mazda 6 Sky-active D often meant watching your car lose value faster than you could pay the finance. From underrated gem to toxic stock, its fall from grace was brutal. But nothing shocked British drivers more than what sits at number 1, a Toyota of all brands that turned the idea of guaranteed reliability upside down. Number 1. Toyota Avensis. If there's one brand most Brits thought they could buy blind, it was Toyota. The Avensis became a familiar sight as taxis, fleet workhorses and family wagons, cars expected to run forever with barely more than routine servicing. But the 2.0 D4D diesel tore that trust apart. EGR systems clogged early, injectors carried staggering prices, and DPF failures became a recurring theme. Taxi drivers lost income, waiting weeks for repairs. Families who thought they'd bought hassle-free motoring instead found themselves paying bills that rivaled German prestige cars. The shock wasn't just financial, it was emotional. If even a Toyota could leave you stranded, what brand was truly safe? For many in the UK, the Avensis wasn't just another car gone wrong. It was the car that cracked Toyota's aura of invincibility. A model meant to symbolize dependability ended up teaching thousands of owners a painful lesson. Even the most trusted name can let you down. And that's why this list stings so much. Because regret hurts most when it comes from cars we thought were bulletproof. 9 cars, 9 stories of regret. Some were sold as stylish alternatives, others as safe family choices, and a few carried badges we thought were untouchable. Yet across forecourts and driveways in Britain, these models proved how quickly the dream of the perfect car can unravel once the warning lights start glowing. That's the real lesson. It isn't just about horsepower or badge prestige. In the UK used market, knowing the hidden weak spots can save you thousands and sometimes even stop you buying a nightmare in the first place. But I want to hear from you. Have you owned one of these 9? Did it break your trust? Or did you somehow get lucky with a trouble-free example? Share your story in the comments. It could save another driver from making the same mistake. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and make sure you hit subscribe with the bell on. Because next time we'll flip the script and reveal the cars in Britain that secretly are worth every penny. You won't want to miss it.